Welcome to Dear Romance Writer, where three writers who always deliver happily ever afters offer questionable advice for all of your relationship, work, and life problems. I'm Zio Axelrod.
I'm Avery Flynn.
And I'm Roan Parrish. We have a great show for you today, so let's get started with our letter. This comes from a Dear Romance Writer listener. Yay! He is also the winner of our 50th episode giveaway.
Oh, yay!
Yay.
Congratulations.
So that was our giveaway, a $25 Barnes & Noble gift card and 25 books. So congratulations, Mary, and thanks to everybody who wrote in. We hope we'll get to all of your letters, and you should keep sending them. All right. So Mary kept it short and sweet, which I appreciate, but I think that this question is one that probably most of us have had at some time in our lives and relationships. And so I'm excited to hear what you all think. So the question is, what do you do when a friend's boyfriend insists on joining in on all of our gatherings?
Yeah,
That's an oldie but a goodie.
Yeah.
it is. And it's I kind of love this question because there's like a million different ways you could go.
Mhm.
I mean, like, is this just your introverted friend got partnered up with an extrovert partner, right?
Right.
And that person is just like, this is totally normal. Are you guys a relatively new friend group? So therefore you're still sort of building your little bonds.
Mhm.
Or is this like, because the other thing, and speaking as the kid that moved like constantly and went to 482 schools, once you get involved in a group that they've been friends since like kindergarten, it can be like it feels so intrusive to try and join that group.
Yeah.
It's not even funny. So I have questions. So I would like to know what you guys think, depending on different circumstances, because the other option is that he's a big controlling creep. Right. So that always fits in too.
Yeah, I mean, it's like either end of the spectrum and everything in between. But
Yeah.
group dynamics are something because, like you said, if it's a group that's been together for a long time, sometimes that can be nobody else is allowed in it to share our energy, or that can be, hey, yeah, come on in and we'll, bring you into the fold. And that depends on what kind of group that Mary has here. And also, again, like Avery said, the boyfriend could be someone who just pushes his way into situations, or someone who feels left out because he's not spending time with this new relationship that he's in, or there could be so many factors here to consider. I don't know, what do you think, Ro?
Yeah, so many factors. It really would change a lot depending on like the makeup of the group. I what I'm wondering is, what is the sort of like gendered makeup of this group too, because I've always had friends of all genders. Like I've never had a time in my life when like all my friends were one gender, but I know a lot of like women specifically who have a really tight group of female friends, and they behave differently with those female friends than they might with like their partners, or dates wherever, like a hangout where everyone's partnered, or where it's like a more mixed group. And so that's kind of the feeling I'm getting a little bit from this, is that like maybe the boyfriend's presence, it's not just like we don't like him or we don't want him around. It is like his presence changes the way the group dynamic goes. And I think that in that case, it's like it's got to be on the friend, like if it's your friend group, or if it's your friend's friend group, like it has to be on you or whatever that person is, I think, to mediate between the boyfriend and the friends, because your friends aren't going to want to like try to dictate that with your boyfriend if they're not independent friends, and your boyfriend shouldn't be negotiating that with your friends. So I feel like then you have to be the one to sort of make the decisions about like what is an acceptable amount of inclusion, and what, or like for you, I mean, this is
and you're talking about as if Mary was the girlfriend in this situation. Okay, because I thought she was a friend.
Or if it's her friend.
Okay. I would think whoever the girlfriend is needs to be the one that the friends go to say, hey, this kind of, can we maybe do a half-see? Can we share custody? All of those things. I do have to tell you guys. Okay, so I'm a TikTok addict, and I was scrolling through, and there was one, and it was when one of the boyfriends insists on joining girls' night, And
Oh,
it is
yeah.
like this group of women, and they are like finishing each other's sentences. There's 48 people talking all at the same time. It's what in my experience has been very typical girls' night when it's my friends, right? So it's lots of talking over each other, stupid singing, random things, all of that stuff. And
Mhm.
then it zooms in across the room, sitting at the table by himself, is a dude with regret written all over his face. Like, it's interesting because I think, especially if it is like a girls' night type of situation, sometimes those are sort of safe places. I
Yeah.
hate that. But it is, where you don't have to do a lot of the catering that sometimes people who are socialized as women in American culture end up doing, whether consciously or subconsciously.
Mhm.
And so I think it's kind of eye-opening. It's sort of like, we always talk about men written by women. Like, I will sometimes ask for dude feedback from my husband on books that I'm writing, or I'll find a book that's really, really good and it's written by a woman and it's got a male perspective. Some people do a great job at that. And some people write men from the perspective of women, which is also really legit. And it's hilarious because it's sort of the same thing where he's like, even if you're in a group of dudes that act differently than with women, not always in like a gross way. Just sometimes with more farting on both
Yeah.
sides. On both
Yeah.
sides. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if I'm married, if I'm in the friends group, that I'm saying to the girlfriend, hey, so happy that you found someone really awesome. I like hanging out with him, but this is kind of our time, like, can we keep doing our thing if we have movie night or whatever it is, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we can do stuff that he can come to, and we can do stuff that's just us, because we like to share, and I mean, you don't know him that well, we don't share all the secrets, but yeah, it's tough. I mean, if I'm the boyfriend and I'm feeling left out, or feeling some vibe from the friends that they don't want him there, then he might push back and say, well, you know why don't they want me there, or is there something wrong, or why don't you want me there? There's like a thin line that you have to tread as the girlfriend here too.
Right.
Yeah.
Get to
Yeah, and I
please
think
your friends
sometimes
and
that, oh, sorry, Zio.
no, go ahead.
I think sometimes that just requires having some conversations that
Mhm.
like most women, queer folks are very used to having with one another, but that I think maybe are not as used to having with male partners, which is like, hey, I like you so much, my friends like you, but you have to understand that your presence here changes what people feel comfortable sharing. And when
Mhm.
I want to spend time with my close friends, I want my close friends to feel comfortable sharing anything. And so, like, both for me and for them, this has to be a space where like we're all comfortable with each other and we all know like what the vibe is. And I
Yeah.
think that like the boyfriend has to receive that. Like asking questions is great, being like, how does it change the vibe? Those are great follow-up questions to try to talk about, because like I think sometimes, as is true with everything, like white people never understand racism, men don't understand sexism. Like there are just things that if you aren't in that identity, you can try your hardest, you can have the best intentions in the world, and you're still like stomping around like a bull in a china shop, fucking up someone else's shit. And like not having bad intentions has no bearing on the shit that you're fucking up.
Right.
Yeah.
It's on whoever the person is to like, you can talk, like these people, the friends can talk, and then it's up to the girlfriend of this person to like navigate that. And if she wants to have a big conversation about gender and gendered spaces, then great. And if she doesn't want to do that, then like she still kind of has to find a way to draw some boundaries. And the thing is like, if I think sometimes what happens in groups is like whoever is the newest person to get partnered up, sort of like, or the last person to get partnered up, has for so long been the single person at these, like, not the hangout specifically, but like weddings, events,
Yeah.
barbecues, whatever. Like they for so long have been the single person at events where all their friends had partners, that maybe they're like, I want to make up for lost time. Now I finally have someone who can like be with me, who of course I want the benefit of being with him and with my friends at the same
Yeah.
time, because
Yeah.
I'm the one person who's intimate with both of them. But that's like a unique perspective for the friend to have, and it doesn't like translate to the other people in the friend group. So it's just like, if your friend is insisting on always getting to like bring her boyfriend and hang out with you, then that's just like being a little selfish and wanting to have both the things that they want at the same time, even if it harms other people. But then if it's the boyfriend who's insisting and the friend is like, dude, I don't know why he keeps showing up here, I've like subtly encouraged him, blah, 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 all the things, then unfortunately you just have to tell that friend of yours that like she's being passive aggressive and attempting to tell her boyfriend to back off without ever having to say the words back off. And that's just never going to work. Like, if he's not picking up on the signs now, why would he, if you keep doing what you're doing? Like, you just have to have that person just has to have a clear conversation.
Well, and I think there's also, one thing we've been looking at it from the perspective of it's like a big group of people and they all get together for like game night or whatever. I don't know. I'm old. But it could just be her and Mary, right?
True.
Maybe they have like, hey, we're actually able to get together. We've been friends forever or whatever. We actually get to go have dinner together, maybe once a month. We figure out a way to make it happen. And now our boyfriend's there every time. Right. I can understand that frustration.
I have been that person.
Yeah.
100%.
Well, and I also think it's one of the interesting things too is when you integrating someone new into an existing dynamic, whether it's a boyfriend, whether it's somebody new that moved to the neighborhood, whether, whoever it is, that can be really kind of difficult.
Yeah.
And interesting in trying to figure out how to weigh the too much, not enough. What if this one friend really likes him and the other friend doesn't? And the other thing that I wanted to say was, I think, and only Mary can answer that. If it is a group situation, is this something that everybody feels, or is it something that Mary feels? Right? Because that can also impact things because, especially with group dynamics, if you're like, okay, this is the other single person here, or, this is the person that I was closest to within the group. We always partnered up together for game night. Again, I am old. I don't do anything anymore. So, but that can have a factor too. Do you feel encroached upon? Do you feel closed down? Do you possibly feel jealous?
And I think that's a great question. And one of the things that I think would be useful is maybe to think about it in terms of adding events for the boyfriend to come to, as opposed to including the boyfriend in events that already take place.
Yeah.
That's a great one. If I was single for like most of my life, and I was constantly the person who I would have plans to go out with a friend, and I would assume it was one-on-one, because if I call someone and say, do you want to hang out? And they say yes, then that's what I would assume. And then like them bringing a date sometimes. And it's like, even if I like the date, totally fine, I hate suddenly being in a social situation that I thought was going to be one thing and it turns out to be another. And I know not everyone has a problem with that, but like, if what I've planned for energetically and emotionally is like a one-on-one dinner with a close friend, and what I then get is feeling like the third wheel on a couple's dinner, then it's hurtful. And it feels sometimes like the person, they literally can't bring themselves to spend 3 hours without their partner, because that's how unimportant I am, that they like couldn't even imagine having one dinner without bringing their boyfriend or whatever. And I think even when people don't mean it that way, like it's hard to be the plus one suddenly, or like the third wheel suddenly when you thought you were one of the main players. And so if what keeps happening is that like this friend and boyfriend keep showing up to things, then I think you could just say like, hey, this kind of hangout, like we've really cultivated this super comfortable, intimate space, and we really love it so much, friend group or just me. Like, I would love to get to know your partner. You should host a barbecue, or like you should do a happy hour, get to know people at your house, and like let us all get to know your new boyfriend. Or like, hey, your boyfriend's really into movies, why don't we do a movie night that's like any of our friend group at your house or with your boy, like adding things so that you're like collaborating on getting to know this person, as opposed to making it seem like you're kicking them out of things, you know.
I think that's really good.
That's a great idea.
And also she should probably just talk to the friend and be like, hey, you know,
Yeah.
why are you bringing him all the time? Is he your ride? And I'm an hour away, so it doesn't make any sense for me to get dropped off and then him to turn around and come back. You know,
Right.
what is the sort of the thinking?
I was thinking about that because, you know, sometimes when you're seeing someone new and you're really into them and you have this great group of friends, you want to integrate your two worlds.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you try to force them together. You know, it may not be that he wants to come to all the gatherings, but she's like, come hang out with my friends. And her friends could be like, well, we don't want him here all the time. But she's like, no, you got to meet my guy. You know what I mean? So it could just be that. It could just be, I want all the people I love in one space all the time.
Yeah. And I
not
think
working for anyone. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, that's why people have parties, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Are the spaces for getting all of your different friend groups together at the same time, because everyone knows what they're going into and everyone expects that. Plus, you're primed to meet new people. So I think like that is the place to start integrating a new boyfriend. And so if this, like, whoever's idea it is, the boyfriend or the girlfriend, like if this has just started happening without either of them asking permission or without either of them like acknowledging in any way that this is a choice that they've made that has changed the agenda, I think that like I imagine that your friend doesn't mean anything malicious by it, but I do think that you may have to be like, I care about you so much. I'm so happy that you found someone. And I know that probably you just want to hang out with everyone you like at once. But like bottom line, even if you were like dating, no matter who you were dating, we really need to have this time just for us. So he can't come. Like he can't come anymore. We decided. And that, I mean, it doesn't have to be like that. That sounds all dramatic. But like we as a value this time too much. This is like a space that we've created as a group. And now you have chosen singly without our permission to completely change the terms of that hangout. And that's just really rude. Like, it's not cool to do that without asking. And I have to imagine that your friend could understand that phrased that way, because I imagine that they wouldn't like it if it happened to them either.
Well, I would think phrasing wise, like another option might be, you know, lead sort of feelings wise rather than, because I would be afraid, like, Roan, if you were to come to me and use those phrases, I would automatically get defensive, even knowing you love me and I love you and all that stuff. That would make me personally super defensive. I would just be like, what do you mean? You just told me I ruined everything. Thank you. Fuck off. Right. I take criticism super well. I'm awesome to work with.
I think saying something like, you know what I really miss? The time that we used to spend together. The time that remember we did
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Leading
like,
sort of a little softer maybe that way or you know what, I kind of miss you right now and we just haven't gotten that one-on-one connection, you know, blah blah blah, or you know, whatever it may be. But I think there are a lot of ways to, I almost just said skin this cat without thinking about it. Sorry, cat lovers, but there are a lot of ways to skin this cat.
And it depends so much on who the participants are, what the boyfriend's like, what the scenario is. But like bottom line, I think it's a great idea to lead with feelings and say you miss, and then to like get the pulse of the room about if it's a group of friends, if you're kind of all on the same page, or if you're the only one feeling this way. And there's
that's a different ball of wax.
The first step is to actually talk about it with the friend. You know, not just
talking,
yourselves,
communicating.
Like chat with a friend.
We're so sorry.
I know the stitch, but
it sucks.
Workable.
I have also had the experience where like you and everyone in your friend group hate one of your friends' partners. And so it's like everyone else's partner is great and you're all friends and it's great, but like you or everyone, there's one person whose partner sucks. And that is always the most awkward, because you're like, if we do a big hang, then of course this person has to come. But because we can't just invite, like, be like everyone's partner except Evelyn, you know. Like, it's
Evelyn,
when does your partner work? Friday nights? Well, that's we're having the party. Oh well.
Like only date that works.
Can you give us his schedule 2 weeks at a time? Thank you. That is difficult and awkward. People are difficult and awkward, so group dynamics are fun. I really wish, I think that, you know, they make us do group projects at school, right? And that's supposed to do all the teamwork building and everything like that.
Yeah.
But actually teaching people to socialize and go through group dynamics would be super, super helpful. Like conflict, not conflict avoidance, but um, like a mediation type thing would be
Yeah,
great.
yeah. Oh my gosh, I was watching. So Timmy loves this show Vita, and I'd never seen it, so she's rewatching it with me, and it's amazing.
Oh,
Highly recommend. But there's like one of the oh my gosh, wait. Conflict me. Oh, right. Sorry, I lost my train of thought as I was saying it. I was so impressed by one of the encounters on Vita that we were watching the other night, though. This is no spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen the show yet, but one of the sisters, it's basically two sisters who are really, really different, who meet back up in East LA after their mom dies, and their mom and her wife, who they didn't even know she was with, own a bar. And so it's them trying to navigate, like they're both Mexican American. And so it's them trying to navigate like this neighborhood as two people who have left the neighborhood and then are coming back and are seen as kind of like gentrifiers because of,
Right.
you know, stuff.
Mhm.
Anyway, the older sister is very like a very clear communicator. And both Timmy and I, who are very clear communicators, love her. And we were talking to someone else and they were like, she is so scary and mean. And I was like, only if you're reading shit into it. And they were like, well, yeah, because that's how feelings work. Anyway, not the point. The point is, so she's the older sister.
Feelings ruin everything.
Is trying to get her bar fixed, and there's like a dude from the neighborhood who's come in to give her like a quote on the work that needs to be done, and she wants a contract and paperwork, and he's like, listen, people from the neighborhood, like they know me, that's not really how I do it. My word, like people know that my word means it's going to get done, and you're not going to find cheaper prices anywhere. And she is kind of like, listen, dude, I'm from this neighborhood too, and we are definitely having a contract no matter what. And he starts getting really mad about it. He's like, you don't trust me? Like, y'all come in here and da da da. And she was like, excuse me? And you knew that it was about to blow up because people are generally bad at everything and stupid. But instead, he did the best like conflict, what's it called? When you de-escalation ever.
De-escalation.
Okay.
So he said something mean. He said something mean. And then to himself, he was like, hang on, that was out of line. I apologize. I think that what's going to happen is we will have a contract. We'll do this, but we'll just move slowly. And I want to work with you. Is that okay? And the sister was like, okay. And it was like, I actually have never seen it on TV before, that a dude is like being a shithead, hears himself being a shithead, apologizes directly, explains why he was a shithead, and then manages to like salvage a professional and interpersonal relationship. It was textbook and it was so good. And I was just like, this is the kind of thing that we need to be taught in school. It's the kind of thing that needs to be in like every children's program across the world, like not modeling good behavior, like nice behavior, modeling what to do when there's an uncomfortable situation or you disagree with someone or like people are fucking it up or upsetting you, modeling how to do this. I was so impressed. And also Vita is amazing, and it got canceled, unfortunately,
Oh no.
after 2 seasons, but
I'm needing to watch it.
it's so good.
All right. I like that.
Yeah.
Well, this has me thinking about our chat topic for today, which is about writing ensemble casts, which is like my favorite thing to do ever.
Me too.
I love it. I love it. Do you like it too?
I love it.
Yeah. So when you write friend groups, does it carry over into your other groups? Like I know you write like connected series and things like that, but like how much do you carry over your friend groups and characters and stuff?
I will tend to do like I like to do 3 to 5 book sort of sets, right? Everybody acts, you can still read everything as a standalone, but it's almost like this set focuses on this group of people, and then this set focuses on this group of people or this location or whatever it is. And I love being able to do that. And then also just because like a lot of my books, all of the books that are set in Harbor City, I will put little Easter eggs, right, from past books. So it might be that, somebody gets meant, like the last book, the book that just came out, they're at a date, the main couple, and they're doing the people watching thing and making stories up about the other people. and he looks across the bar and he's like, that woman looks like she could kill somebody, and with her thumb. And the heroine is like, oh yeah, our family has used her investigative services before, that's blah blah blah. And that's all there is to it, right? Doesn't mean anything, but you know,
But to
she's
your
the love
readers,
interest of somebody else in another book. And
yeah,
the readers have very much enjoyed that. So yeah.
Yeah,
I do
I
the same
love,
thing.
oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I love ensemble. I love reading and writing ensemble casts. Friend groups are something that really fascinate me because I definitely, as a hardcore introvert, I have always been someone who had more of like one close knit friend group than like tons of different friends from all my different various social activities, because I didn't have various social activities. And so I love seeing friend groups in different scenarios. So I love it in an ensemble where you get to see like, what does this friend group look like at a wedding? Okay, what does it look like at a train station, at a whatever? And I always find that so fun, both because I love writing the other characters and because I feel like a friend group always says something about the character themselves.
Yeah.
Not like the fact of it maybe, but the way they interact with it. And like, is there someone in that friend group who you're sort of like, wow, I wouldn't expect that they would be friends with that person, and you learn that they've been friends since like kindergarten and they're not similar anymore and maybe wouldn't be friends if they met today, but they have this shared history. And like, yeah, so I always really like that. And I always like using friend groups to like deliver information to the reader that neither character knows. So like if you're doing alternating perspective in a romance, usually you're like, cool, so if one character doesn't know it, then I'll show it in the other character's point of view. But I love when it's like you get one character's point of view and they clearly think of things one way, and then you get their love interest's point of view and they clearly think of things one way, and then you meet the friend group of either one of them and they're like, oh no, we all agree this is how it is. And the friend is like, wait, really? You all think that about me? Oh, okay. And then it's like the character learns something about themselves, the reader learns something about the characters, and everybody learns that like this character does not have an accurate perception of themselves, which of course none of us do. And then like, I just think that's really fun always to read and write.
Yeah. I like writing the large found family. Found family is like a huge running theme in my books. And so yeah, and like Avery, I put Easter eggs in different books. Almost everything I write is set in Philadelphia, or the characters are from Philadelphia, or in this case, the book I'm writing now, they went to school in Philadelphia. So there's always that, but then you create like your neighborhood or whatever, and then the neighborhood has a bar, and the bar has regulars, and so you'll get like the people who are like tertiary characters who just sort of float in and out of books, but the reader might pick up, oh wait, was that the guy that was sitting at the bar in that scene in that other book? Like I love stuff like that. But in terms of like the friend groups, I'm like you. I like having a chorus who delivers information. Or like a revelation that the protagonist is on the cusp of making, and they're like, "Come on, get quicker." And I love that. I love like that sort of all wise group of friends. Everybody has their skill set, and then when you put them together, it's like magic,
Yeah, it's like friendship Ocean's 11, like everyone
yes,
specialized skill at their job.
Everybody has a skill, right? And I think it's fun because I think it's a fun way to do characterization for your main character, is to show how they interact in their world and how people respond to them, right? That I think is just a great way to sort of add that in. Like if you're doing a jerk, he would not tip the waitress, right? That would just be a very easy way to just be like, here's how somebody interacting with somebody else shows their makeup, their core makeup. So yeah.
Totally. Another thing I often do is, because I have the Riven series, is about a band called Riven that is in almost all my other books. So like my books are set in a world where Riven is a big deal band, and I have my characters listen to Riven in almost every book, and it really enjoys me to see like which characters would like Riven and which characters wouldn't. And then so in one book maybe it's like, oh, my favorite band, and they're like jamming out, and then the other book Riven comes on the radio and the driver is like, oh my god, stop playing them, they're terrible. But I just like really enjoy threading it in for my own amusement and the amusement of others.
That's fun.
Well, and as a reader, it's super fun to like make your predictions on who's gonna end up, like, especially if it's like an encompassing large ensemble case, cast who's going to end up together and do all that. Pippa Grant has a really fun rom-com series that's like that, a couple of them, and those are really fun. And Elle Kennedy's, what was the name of it? It was like the Midnight Group. They were all mercenaries. It
Oh, I
has
haven't read
it
that.
it is older. It's so good. I
Cool.
loved, like, I was like salivating trying to wait for the next book to come out and so excited and going, oh well, that person's definitely going there. And then if it was somebody else, I'm like, okay, it still makes sense. I'm with you. You know, you won me over. But that was one of those series that I read the last book and didn't realize I was reading the last book.
Oh,
No.
I know. Thank you for understanding how horrible.
Oh no, it's awful. It's like when you rush the last episode of a show and you thought there were more, and then it's just over because it was auto playing, and you're like, how you
You
can't
need
just
to mentally
Yeah.
prepare for that.
yeah.
Oh,
I think
what-
there should be like a light that goes on before the if you're like just streaming and not picking them individually, there should be like a light that goes on and it just says like final episode.
final episode.
Yeah, and I think that should go on books too. The last one, especially because I started the series out of order too. All right, I'm gonna look it up because I want to be able to wreck it because it's really good and I loved it so
There's
much.
a series,
It's old.
you made me remember a series that Laura Kay had, the Hard Ink series, where she had that whole cast
Mhm.
of characters, and you're just like the family and the friends and the people that they rescue and the motorcycle gang, and like it's like all these people, and you're just like, oh my god, I love you all. Yeah,
I
it's
like
fun.
it when reader, like this is romance specific, I think, that readers will be like, oh, you included one hyper specific detail about this secondary character. Are they getting their
Are
own
they getting
book?
a book? Yes.
And it's like it could be anything. It could be like a random person who stopped at a stop sign
Yep.
and was like playing a music with the window down that I just put in for color or whatever. And people are
Yeah.
like, are they getting a book?
Yeah. Yeah.
So funny.
All right,
And I'm
I
like,
found
maybe.
it. It's called. It is Elle Kennedy, and it is called the Killer Instincts Team. I don't know if that's, but the first, yes, a Killer Instincts is the name of the series. First book is Midnight Rescue, and so they're all action adventure, steamy, super fun. Highly recommend. Yes, do it. Just figure out when you're starting the last book.
Read them in order. And
Yeah, don't
Yeah.
make the mistakes I did. But yeah, who else does a great job with ensemble cast that you guys love?
Reese Ford,
Oh yes,
the Sinner's Gin series, which I revisit often. That whole series is just amazing.
Garrett Lee does a really good job with on like introducing characters in one thing that will follow through and make special appearances.
Yeah. There's a lot of authors I think that are really good at it. I like I'm reading husband material right now, and it is that friend group that Alexis introduced in the first book is really present in the second one, and it's just it's like meeting old friends again, you know.
Yeah,
I'm like,
I
oh
love
yeah,
that.
I remember you guys. Talk to
Oh.
me, you know, like that.
Talk, yeah. The first book, if you guys haven't read it, who are listening, is Boyfriend Material,
Material,
and
yeah.
it is a great book. It is just absolutely a great book.
I made the mistake of listening to the audio because I listened to like a chapter of audio as I'm going to sleep, and I started that book and I was laughing. I was laughing so much I had to turn it off because I was like, I'm just gonna want to listen more and just keep laughing. Stop listening.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, as romance readers, we know, just because it's sort of one of the genre conventions, right? The friends will probably end up getting stories, right? But I think what's really great is when an author is able to fully realize those ensemble characters, even when it's not their book, so that they feel so real that you just can't wait to get to theirs. Yeah, you're like dying for it. Yes.
Oh wait,
it reminds me of a show that I don't know if anyone here has seen.
I was just curious. I was just getting ready to say it's been 6 months since I've mentioned Scum. 6 months. It's been like 6 hours since I mentioned Scum. Yeah, but in Scum, they did a really cool thing where the first season was about this one person, Ava. And so everything was through her POV. And then in the very last shot, the person whose second season was Nora, they look into the camera So the way that they told you who the next main was there was like a
that's
really
so
quick,
fun.
really
So
quick
cool.
like look into the camera, and it's so fast that at first you didn't notice it, and so they did until they did it in the next season, and you're like, wait, is that what they did to show us? You know, so you
Did
went
you
back.
scream out loud?
I did, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The absolute joy of that.
Yeah, but it was really neat, and it was neat to see like and this goes back to our letter a little bit, because when you changed POV, when we went from one character to another, the group changed as well because it was through their POV. So you got to see them through that person's eyes, which was really different.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah.
Oh. All right. So now that we've given you both show and book recommendations today, along with some questionable advice, we just want to say thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us again.
Yeah.
We loved having you. Mary, thank you for sending us such a great
Congrats.
letter, and congratulations on winning our 50th episode giveaway. If you have not seen the email from us yet, please do check all of your inboxes and
your
spam
box,
files,
junk folder,
all of that good stuff, your promotions folder, because we want to be able to send all the goodies to you. So please go ahead and send that in. Everybody else, please send us your questions about your life, your work, your relationships, your friends' life problems. We want it all. Give us the good stuff. The people that you overheard on the bus on the way to work, we want the good stuff.
Yeah, we're all barely hanging on. Dear God, let us try to give you some advice since we cannot control our own lives.
Yes, exactly. So we cannot wait to give you guys some questionable advice. So thank you so much for joining this trio of happily ever after enthusiasts. We'll see y'all next week. Bye, y'all.
Thank you so much for subscribing to Dear Romance Writer. Remember to keep sending in those letters at dearromancewriter.com. We can't wait to tell you what to do. Dear Romance Writer is part of the Frolic Podcast Network. Find more podcasts you'll love, frolic.media/podcasts.